stressful year. What sort of dominated all y'all's time in 2021 in the Sheriff's Department?
Well, I would say that COVID had a big part of it. It's been very interesting trying, it's already complicated enough when you're operating a $38 million budget, dealing with 525 employees, about 400 of those are full-time. And, but throwing COVID in the mix because you may have somebody that's out sick. Obviously, if they've tested positive for COVID, they can't come into work. But also, if they had a household member, spouse, or something like that tested positive, even if they didn't, they still had to quarantine. And so it was just a big...
And those guys, men and women, have to be out in the public all the time, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And they're out in the public. They're being exposed probably more so than, a regular citizen would be. And it's just, with all the public interactions that they have daily. And so it was kind of a lot of leapfrogging on schedules and trying to make sure we had shifts covered and plenty of people to work in this area and this and just it was difficult for sure and stressful, but just trying to get through all that and just
How did it affect crime? Was there more or less crime, or about the same?
I would say so. One thing I've noticed, and I think the public could probably attest to this too, is since COVID, you've seen a spike in violent crime everywhere. I mean, it's all over the country, and of course, we've had our share of that here too. And I think there's been, we seem to be we have dealt more with mental health type issues within our communities more than we ever have that I've ever seen in 20, 21 years. It's just, I think the mental health issues have just spiked this year. And I'm sure COVID plays a huge role. It has to with that. So that's been challenging. And because there's a lot of unique situations like that. And you just can't handle them the same as you can other situations. You just and you have to be fluid, and our folks have to be as trained as they possibly can be to handle situations like that. So and unfortunately, we've dealt with a lot of, we've had probably a lot more overdoses than we've normally have. A lot of those are probably suicide related, but we have dealt with a lot of suicides, and so it's been a kind of a sad year.
And the jail's still though evaluating people, trying to get them right. And that program's still in full force.
It is, and of course that slowed down a little bit with mental health just because of COVID, obviously, and their folks have gotten COVID or been exposed, so they hadn't been able to come to the jail, but they have been. They're still doing that the best they can. So 21 is just everybody was so ready to get out of 2020, and I'm not sure 21 wasn't worse, but
y'all had some good news this year though. I mean, y'all had let's talk about the training that we had just done a video on the 360 training, and
so with the challenges that we've had for 21 also came some opportunities. And we were able to, because a lot of the things that we normally do and sending people to training and stuff like that, we had to bring a lot more stuff in house because there's just a lot of things that aren't being offered anymore. That you would send a detective to a certain class in Florida for that's not even there anymore. That's not available. So we got creative. We started looking at ways we can train our people better, especially dealing with split-second decision-making scenarios, mental health scenarios, de-escalation type techniques and stuff like that. We wanted to get more into that kind of training. And so we purchased a program called VirTra. Stands for Virtual Training. It's basically short for that. And it's a very unique, a lot of people have seen simulators where you have like a movie screen in front of you, a small small overhead projector type screen, and you're doing shoot, no shoot type scenarios on there, and you got a few scenarios that you can train through. Well, we bought a system that's actually a 300-degree simulator that wraps all the way around you. And not quite 360, you just got that little bit of an opening where you walk through and or your personnel can walk through. But you got a 300-degree screen. surround sound, I mean, it is quite amazing, really. And the technology is amazing. But we have the ability to run over 60,000 different scenarios. It's scenario-based training. It costs a pretty penny, but we hardly used any tax dollars for it. We were able to use drug money that came from drug dealers and seasoned drug dealing money on those types of cases. And so it's a great program. Very excited. I've been through it several times, and it gets your heart racing. It's extremely realistic. And so I think that's a game changer for us. And we're the only agency in South Carolina that has something like this that's this new and fresh and has the ability to run so many different scenarios. So, and
you've built, y'all, let's talk about that. Y'all have expanded your space this year.
Yep. Well, we have.
Which has allowed you to do more training, and
yep.
including that hands-on, room-to-room kind of.
Sure. So we've been given more space. Ultimately, we're operating out of like 6 different buildings right now. The sheriff's office is, but here pretty soon, we're going to be consolidating to one, and it's the old Ryobi TTI building on 28, and so the sheriff's office will be under one roof, except for the jail part.
Emergency management moving out there too?
Yeah, we're going to have everybody out there. The plan is to have everybody out there, minus the jail, of course, because you couldn't fit the jail over there. Which I wish we could, but there's just no way it could, with the layout where the retention ponds are and drainage and everything else, there's no way to be able to add the jail facility there.
Let's talk about that before we get too far away.
Sure, yeah.
Where are we on the jail? And we've got the plan. The plan was in place and ready to go.
So, from what I understand, of course, this is going to be a county administrator, county council decision on the jail, but it looks like we're making some progress again. That kind of, we kind of reached a stalemate on that because of COVID and everything else. But I think I'm hearing a lot of things being revisited. Recently had a meeting with some county council folks and the county administrator, and so it looks like it's a topic that will probably move forward hopefully soon. And
you've kind of built a team there. The team members around. Tell people a little bit about that.
That's right. Yep, we've had some team shifts this year. We've had a couple command staff members that have retired, and so it gave us an opportunity to shift some responsibilities and promote a couple of individuals. I haven't had a chief deputy in several years now, and so I have a chief deputy now, Ross Brown. He's my chief deputy. He is. Me and him are the 2 exclusive people that work on the budget, and the budget's very important to me, and I want it handled right. And Ross is very good at that, and he knows exactly what I expect with the budget and how I want it run and how we want, because we're very frugal with it, very conservative with it. Obviously, we try to get the most mileage out of every single dollar that's given to us because we believe taxpayer dollars are very important. It's very important to me, and I know it's very important to the taxpayer. They want to see that they get, like I said, the most mileage out of their dollar, and that they're getting the most bang for their buck.
But as the census has shown, we've added 20,000 people.
Yeah.
And I think you and I one time before talked about for $1 you get $1 worth of law enforcement coverage.
That's true. You get what you pay for, but we've also been able to maximize that a whole lot. We've been able to, of course, this is with county council's help and our county administrator, who I've worked very well with, Mr. Burns. He's very pro our office and has just come through time and time again for our needs. But we were able to get our deputy pay up again this year. That's something that we've been 5 for 5 for so far. So 5 pay increases in 5 years. But it's much needed because we were at the bottom of the barrel.
And it's helped out retain people too.
Oh yeah, our retention is awesome. So
because it was terrible. I mean,
it was bad. It was bad, and but retention over the last 5 years has been incredible. And right now we're full on paper. We've got several that. We have a few in the academy right now. We have a few more that's got to go to the academy, so they're not quite on their own yet, but on paper we're fully staffed, which is amazing. On the law enforcement side.
Yeah, I interrupted you. You're talking about shifting around.
No, that's fine. Still have a couple openings in dispatch, and we may have one or about to have one in the jail. So, of course, if you know people out there that want to be 911 dispatchers or detention officers at the jail, we're always looking for great candidates. So, but our enforcement side's full, and we're very thankful because there's departments all over the country, certainly, but especially in South Carolina that are screaming for help. And they can't fill positions. And some agencies, I've heard, they're 100 people or more short, and that's dangerous. That's dangerous for their communities, and their officers actually are still there. But yeah, we shifted around. So Ross and I have worked very closely again on the budgeting side of it, the human resources side. That kind of all falls under his purview. And we have Daryl Hill, which a lot of folks I know Major Daryl Hill. And now we have Major Andy Tribble, and of course those two oversee our two divisions. We have divisionally separated between operations and support, and so Major Hill's over the support, and Major Tribble's over operations. And operations would include, your uniform patrol, detectives, investigations. All your day-to-day enforcement type duties, narcotics, all that stuff. Support, you have your crime scene, jail, emergency management, all that falls under the support umbrella of the support division. So, but anyway, they're in those positions with Major Andy Tribble moving up. We were able to promote Steve Reeves to captain over investigations. So Steve's just recently been promoted to that and doing an outstanding job.
David Baker moved.
Yeah, David Baker. So David, that was an interesting move, but David Baker is Captain David Baker. He was Director David Baker, which is essentially about the same thing. But now Captain David Baker over the jail. And so he's taking on something completely new and fresh. But interestingly enough, when I talked to David about taking over the jail, he had to think about it. But that's how he started his career. He started his career as a detention officer with Greenville County, though. And then, of course, he's been a chief of police and emergency manager. So he's so well-rounded, and he just, honestly, he does good in everything we put him in. So, but he took on the jail. That's a tough project to take over, but he's doing a great job, I think, so far. And I think the people really are liking David and his style, and so excited about that.
Of course, into his position, you hired somebody that's been around a while.
Oh yeah, so Josh Hawkins. So a little bit different. So it's not a command staff level. It's more of a lieutenant, I guess, level. He's a civilian though, so he's not necessarily a lieutenant. But Josh Hawkins, also known as Shaggy, a lot of folks know him, especially in the fire and EMS community. Very, very talented young man, very educated. Just knows his stuff. So he's going to be taking over as the emergency manager, and I think he's going to take it to a whole nother level. I think his youth and I love to see that. I love to see the young bright guys being able to come in and make some changes that perhaps some of us hadn't thought of, because we've been doing it for so long. We lose sight on what could be new and fresh, and he certainly brings that. So he's going to do great. We're still at a command staff. We've had a few other movements in command staff this year, but they've all been very positive. We still have a very lean command staff. It's me plus 8 command staff leaders, so we're still doing it with 9, which is how I started. And that's always been a goal of mine, is to have the leanest possible command staff that you could have. So I'm very proud of my team that's been able to accomplish so much, and they work. And they have a lot on their plates, but they've done a phenomenal job, and certainly appreciate their efforts that they make day to day. And of course, their people that work under them do an amazing job. So,
how about resources, equipment? Is anything the public would notice that y'all added this past year that's going to help you guys going forward?
Well, another thing I guess the public couldn't see, in addition to the virtual training systems that we were able to purchase. And Cody Alcorn with Fox Carolina did an exceptional article on that. People could go to Fox Carolina and search, probably search with Anderson County and the VIRTRA, VIRTRA training system. And he did a I think it was a 6-minute long demonstration on that. And he went through the whole thing and just gave him a unique perspective. And which is, when opportunities present themselves, I want to put as many members of the media and community leaders through that, because it really gives them a perspective of wow, making a split-second decision is tough, and it can make you or it can break you. And so you got to be mentally prepared to make split-second decisions on a regular basis, and that's hard and that's stressful. But if you train that way, then you can train yourself to be able to hopefully always make good split-second decisions. But in addition to that, we also built a live scenario house. We used to call them, a shoot house, because you're shooting each other with simunitions and stuff. But apparently, people didn't think that sounded very good, so we wanted to change that to a live scenario house. But there's actually live actors in training that put the officer, so every single officer will go through this live house with live actors, usually from the trained divisions, or they volunteer from other departments and divisions to be those people, and they will mimic domestic situations, which is a lot of what we do. We answer a ton of domestic related calls, and if you added it up, it's probably close to 30% of our call volume is related to domestic somehow, which is amazing. But it puts you through, being able to handle a potential suicidal person, or a volatile domestic situation, or dealing with a barricaded suspect, and of course the art of
attic, crawl space.
Yeah, it's got a built-in crawl space, an attic. We can shift the walls. We can move the walls. We can make them look like jail cells. We can make it look like kind of like a kitchen area, or even a dining facility at the jail, or something like that. It's amazing, but all the walls have wheels, and they can unscrew and bolt back in, and so you can make it whatever you need to. They were running a scenario the other day, and it looked like the inside of a QT almost, and so it's really neat. But it gives, it's just not the same old training that we used to do 20 years ago. It is very realistic, and you fight how you train, and so.
And your guys built all that out there.
Yeah, our guys. That's completely our guys. We had some inmates that also, we used some inmates to help build that. As part of, we have some inmates that do that kind of stuff. That weed eat, cut grass, build stuff if we needed. Paint, stuff like that. So we used a lot of those to do that, so we didn't have to pay a contractor to come in and do it. So, people talk about chain gangs. Well, we actually do have a couple of them. Basically, they just physically not wearing chains, but they do labor. And I think this past year, we figured that they probably have done over $300,000 worth of, and that's figuring up minimum wage, of labor around the county, weed eating and picking up trash, and helping us paint stuff, build stuff, that kind of stuff that we can use for training purposes, and stuff for the range, and so we definitely we get some work out of them, that's for sure.
Did you meet most of the goals you had for this past year?
Yeah, we did. Our biggest goals this year were training related, and we knew after 2020, it was just like 2020 just saturated everything, and it's just you could not go and do what you used to. And when I'm talking about, not socially, I'm talking about, professionally with our work, we could not send people to the academy for a training class. We couldn't send them to a department that was holding a special class for, death investigations or this or that. Everything became virtual, and some of that stuff you can't sit there and watch on the computer screen. So we really had to bring training to us and kind of build a program where we can really train our own people the way we need training and to fit Anderson County's needs. And so our training unit is just at a whole nother level. And I feel, and of course, obviously I'm biased because it's Anderson County, but I feel
You want to mention the guy up there running along?
Captain Wayne Mills. Captain Wayne Mills, also a newly promoted, was Lieutenant Wayne Mills. He is over, right now he's over Special Operations, which training is one of those divisions that's under the Special Operations umbrella. Wayne is extremely creative, thinks outside the box, cutting edge type. He was a former Marine before he was here at the Sheriff's Office. Wayne does a great job, and just very, very, like I said, thinks outside the box, proactive thinker. And he's brought in a lot of new and fresh ideas. Has developed one of the best school resource officer training programs, I think, probably in the country. But we get a lot of requests from other agencies to get some of that training for them. But he has just he's a very dynamic person, and has done a great job with training. And I got a cough. Sorry.
Right.
But that's just because I'm starting to get parched there. Sorry. Okay.
Well, let's look ahead. What are your goals for this year in 2022? It's already here, and
it's upon us very quickly. This year's just trying to get over the whatever variants COVID throws at us, and how to handle that. Fortunately, with this latest Omicron variant, we've been able to get people back to work quicker, at least. And I know my family's been through it. Probably everybody that sees this video has been they've either had it or their family members had it, and so it's affected everybody. But I think this year is where we're going to continue our large scale training efforts. This will be the year we probably start moving. Like I said, we're in 6 different buildings right now. It's trying to consolidate to one. We may see some of that consolidation taking place this year, maybe at least with a couple of Sheriff's Office buildings. And people always ask, what are you going to do with this building or this building if the Sheriff's Office vacates it? And that's actually for, I don't own this building. This is owned by the county. And so I think the county already has potential tenants lined up. I know Highway Patrol wants one of our buildings. They're looking to move down from Central, because their office is in Central right outside of Clemson, and they're looking to move to Anderson, so they're wanting a building. I think I've heard that Pardon, Probation, and Parole is looking to go into a newer, updated facility, and so we have several people they're going to be interested in.
So you think by the end of the year it'll all be consolidated out there?
Sorry. I would hope so, or at least the efforts made to start moving people by the end of this year.
And if county council moves forward on the jail, you've already got the plan in place.
Sorry, Greg.
Sorry, every time you cough, everybody freaks.
Yes, it is not COVID.
If county council okays, you've kind of gotten the jail plan was already written out and ready to go. If they approve moving ahead, could we see some real movement this year?
I think so. I think there's a little bit more planning that needs to take place. I think that council's done a really, really good job of probably quarterbacking the efforts to move forward with that. I think there's still some there's probably stuff that's more in the weeds a little bit about certain details that the jail needs to be able to basically the best ideas, standard practices of how jails are operating now. We need to make sure that we're planning for the future. One thing that I've noticed in years past is just like the very building that we're in right now was built actually in the year 2000, so it's not that old. The problem is when they built it for the force that they had in 2000, which blows my mind. Why wouldn't you plan for what you have in 2020 or 2040 even? And so what we want to do is, because obviously the jail is going to be a burden, and we're going to have to pay for it, but we don't need to build this thing and then our children have to rebuild it again in 20 or 30 years. We need to make sure this thing is something that lasts, something that our grandchildren's not going to have to pay for and redo completely again. Or if they do, hopefully it's something that they can easily find additions for, and construction will be easier and cheaper. But you got to plan ahead, and so I certainly don't want my children in 20 years going, God, why did they not have some forward thinking ideas about this thing, and now we got to start all over again. So
Overcrowding still a challenge?
Overcrowding's terrible. I think 480, 485 today. We were at 490 in the weekend. We will probably hit 500, I bet, in the next week or so. And the jail's meant for 205. I think it's rated at 205. So, and I will say this, because I hear it every day. Well, the jail shouldn't be comfortable. I get it. I don't want it to be comfortable. Matter of fact, when you go to jail, I want you to say, man, I do not want to come back to this place. This motivates me to never come back. That's the kind of atmosphere I want in the jail. But you got to remember, when you're putting 10 people in a cell made for 4 to 6 people, tensions rise. There's fights. It's dangerous, but not just for the inmates. It's dangerous for my deputies that have to work in those environments, because those are the guys that have to go in and break the stuff up, and those are the guys that have to to keep law and order. It's like a whole nother little town inside that jail, and they have to keep law and order inside that facility. And it's tough when it's overcrowded. It is dangerous for your deputies, and they're not just my deputies. They're people that some of these people have family members that are deputies that work down in the detention center, and it is dangerous. It is a very dangerous place. It's dangerous anyway, just because of the element of human beings that you have in that facility. But imagine packing them in like sardines. They don't like that either, and so they'll fight each other, but they'll fight us as quick as they will anybody else. So
already in jail. So.
They're already in jail. What else they got to lose? And that's some of them's mentality. So it's something that's got to be done.
I know, as you work on the budget, what are some of the things you're hoping y'all can get in the budget this year?
Well, I know vehicles are not going to be in the budget this year. Well, actually, they're in the budget. It's built into the budget. But we're not going to be able to get vehicles this year. We've already been told, basically, manufacturers are going to stop building police-type vehicles right now because, and I'll give you an example. The Ford Explorer. We have some Ford Explorers in our fleet. We may buy a Ford Explorer, the police package version, for $29,000 because it's kind of bare bones, and it may have power windows, but it doesn't have bells and whistles at all. But a limited Explorer may sell for $60,000. So the manufacturers obviously make more selling a limited or a special edition, whatever, luxury version of the Explorer than they do making money off a police package Explorer. So from my understanding, the industry is trying to catch up with their civilian demand, and that's what they're going to focus on for a while, and then they'll come back and revisit the public service type vehicles, which will hurt us because it could be 2 years before they. And we've worked very hard to get us on a plan to where we get a certain percentage of new vehicles every year.
Yeah, at a 5-year, it rotates from now ready to go.
That's right, about 20% every year. Joseph Stone, our fleet director, he's been great to work with. He's done a great job of this.
Upgrading that shop's been a godsend.
Oh yeah, they've done some serious upgrades to the shop, which benefits all of us too at the sheriff's office. But before, in the past, it didn't make sense. But the sheriff in the past would go buy 63 cars at one time, and spend millions and millions of dollars with one major purchase. Well, the problem is all those 63 cars time out at the same time, and then you got to go buy 84 cars, and then it didn't make sense. So we finally got on this great rotation where it's about 20% a year, and so after 5 years you're kind of rotating through. And there's some exceptions. Some of the courthouse deputies have older cars. They're still in good shape though, but they probably do have higher mileage and stuff like that but they're just driving back and forth to the courthouse and stuff like that. But those patrol vehicles, obviously, those are driven hard, and they put thousands and thousands of miles on them every month. So it's important to keep those rotated the best we can. So we probably will fill this for several years until they get caught up, and so that is something we couldn't plan for because we've had to move with the industry on that. And so anyway, that's a little discouraging, but we'll get through it. We'll make do. We'll maybe all be on horseback before we know it. Who knows? But but there's a lot of things this year that we are going to have to try to play catch up on. We're bringing back the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. That is where all the stakeholders of criminal justice system in Anderson County get together. Whether it's the judges, the magistrate's office, the sheriff's office, the police department, pardon, probation, and parole, mental health, DJJ, the town and city police departments, the state agencies that are represented here in Anderson County, Highway Patrol, SLED, all those guys, Solicitor's Office, all the entities that affect the criminal justice here in Anderson County. We'll all start meeting again, I think, in February, and that gives us an opportunity to probably address issues that we have with each other, and also address problems that we all feel like maybe there's a certain issue that needs to be worked on, and perhaps come together so we can fix that problem. One of those, of course, is the jail, and the jail's probably a big reason why a lot of folks get bonded right back out of jail as soon as they get into jail, because the judges see the overcrowding issue and they're trying to make their decision based on how overcrowded the jail is, and so and we don't need that. We need to be able to house these people, put these people behind bars for whatever time they need to be, so the judges can base their decisions moving forward with their court dates and what they've done to be in jail to begin with, and not worry about the overcrowding situation that we have.
You got a lot of new chiefs too. That'd be good for them to kind of get in the county.
Got a lot of new police chiefs in the county this year, or I guess most of them were appointed this past year.
Yeah.
So a lot of new faces, in the law enforcement community, and it's really like that all over the state. Speaking on the state level, and from where we are, SLED's made some big changes over the last year, some new appointments and promotions there, and they've got a brand new forensic lab that we're excited about because we all use the SLED's forensics lab, and their DNA lab is fresh and updated, and so we actually hope to be sending some old cases through their new DNA lab, and of course right now everybody's trying to get their cases into the new SLED lab, so it'll probably take a while. I'm sure there'll be a backlog, but who knows, we may be able to solve an old case or an older case, an unsolved homicide type case. We'll see, we hope. So, but we're going to try to get as good a use out of SLED's new DNA lab the best we can.
Anything else on your 2022 to-do list or agenda or budget or anything you can talk about?
Well, I'd like to see us stay fully staffed. Seeing the way things are, across the country right now, law enforcement, there's not a lot of people standing in line wanting to be police officers these days, and I hate that. But that's what you're seeing across the country. We've been very fortunate. I think we have a great community that supports us. I think that's why. I think people will like this area, and I think that this is a great area to live. And so there's a lot of people that want to work here, and I think they like the culture that we have here at the sheriff's office. And so I'd love to see our retention stay as the best it can, and just keep working as hard as we can for the citizens of Anderson County, and hope that we're making them proud and accomplishing as much as we possibly can. Unfortunately, we wish we could solve every single case that's thrown our way, and sometimes you just can't. And but we wish we could. But we're going to do the best job that we can for our folks.
And citizens who want to keep up with all this, y'all got an app. That's one of the best ways to.
Yep, we have our Anderson County Sheriff's Office app. You can. and I forget exactly how you can find that, but I'm sure you can find it, looking at Anderson County Sheriff's Office in South Carolina. On the App Store, the website, we try to keep as much stuff on the website as possible. The website's a lot better than it used to be. We've been able to make some upgrades on it. Social media, we're trying to be, if anybody's noticed, our social media, I guess, contributions have picked up a little bit, so we're trying to be out there on social media a little bit more. And we've even added a little bit of history. I'm a big history guy. I love historical stuff, especially from the historical sheriff's office. I actually have some old newspapers from the 1950s about the sheriff that was the sheriff then, and but we're trying to do some Throwback Thursday stuff where you may see some people that are still working here, but what they looked like 20, 30 years ago, and when they first started their career here, or you may even see some old stuff from 50, 60, 75 years ago even. So, but we're trying to pick up on that, and kind of, social media is a big deal, so we want to be able to, have as much outreach as possible with that. I guess I should say, I should definitely give a shout out to our county council folks. Again, they have come through for us time and time again. I have. I would like to say this. I have seen previous sheriffs, because I've worked for 3 different sheriffs here before I became sheriff, and I have seen county council and the sheriff just constantly just butting heads, getting nowhere. The sheriff not be able to get resources that he thinks that he needs or thinks he needs, and of course county council just being hard to deal with. And I can just say that. Man, they've been great for us. If I get it to them, and usually I have everything spelled out, why we need stuff, and here's how it would affect Anderson County, and why it's best that we have this or that, and the justification for it. They're very willing to try to make it happen. We certainly don't get everything we ask for, but we understand that too. But we appreciate a local government. I know they get a lot of flack for stuff, and there's maybe some stuff that they need to hear from their citizens about. Obviously there's other concerns other than just the sheriff's office, and citizens should reach out to their county council folks. But I would say if they're concerned about how the county council's dealing with the sheriff's office, they've been good to us, and especially over the last couple of years, it's been they've been really helpful through, especially all this stuff that we've had to deal with. So I appreciate them as well.